Hi everybody, welcome to the Scott Show Sports Show. This is the second consecutive show we're doing here on the Sports Show. The first one we talked about the XFL Football League starting in a few weeks. But right now we're going to talk about the top 25 in college football. We'll give you the top 25 in college football and the games coming up this week. Now 9 of the top 10 play this week. So that would be very interesting. And if I repeat the games, I'm sorry. I'm just reading down the top 25. So there you go. So actually, I think we'll start with number 25. Virginia, the Cavaliers, as they play Florida State, the Seminoles. The Seminoles are not all doing that great this year. But we'll see what happens with them in the future. I'm going to pick Virginia in this game. Beating Florida State, because I think Florida State's a little weak this time. USC, number 24, they're playing BYU, Brigham Young University. I kind of smell an upset on that one. Pac-10 is a little shaky at this time, so I'm gonna pick an upset. I don't know why, but I'm going to. Number 23, Washington. Washington is 1-1, by the way. They are playing Hawaii. Washington rolls in that game. Boise State and Portland State. Boise State rolls, and they need to. They do not have a good strength of schedule coming up. They are 22nd in the nation right now, but to move up that ladder, you need to have big wins. And I want to see that. Big win at home against Portland State. I've never heard of Portland State, so that you need a big win, Boise. Make it happen. Number 21, Maryland, as they face off against Temple, Maryland, in the Big Ten, but facing off against a team not in the Big Ten as Temple University. I'm going to pick Maryland in this one handily, and we'll see what happens there. But it's Maryland, so hey, I'm cheering for you. The Terrapins of the great state of Maryland. Number 20, Washington State, the Cougars, will be facing off against the Cougars of Houston. It's a Cougar battle, folks. It's just like going to a bar with a whole bunch of old women. It's a Cougar battle in Washington State. I'm going to go with Washington State here, but Houston, hey, they got a pretty good team. They always do. So, yeah, there you go. Iowa. 2-0 against Iowa State at Iowa State. It's going to be a closer match than I'm going to think. The Big Ten is going to be huge this year. This is why I am a big proponent of an 8-team playoff. Because you have teams from the Big Ten, teams from the SEC that are really good and need to get into the playoff. Hell, I would love a 16-team playoff. You got 144 teams. But you won't see that this year. It's only 4. And Iowa is one of the teams I think that gets hurt from not having a bigger playoff. I think they're a great team, but I think they face off against other really great teams and get kind of thrown down the process. I'm not just saying that because a wonderful person went to Iowa. That is Dr. Jennifer Boyle. Shout out to Jennifer and her husband Patrick. Wonderful people. I can't wait for the Iowa-Wisconsin game. But in this one, it's Iowa State. I'm going to go with Iowa in this, winning. And sorry to all the people from Iowa and the wonderful fans. You guys do not have a better state fair than Minnesota. I'm just going to give it out to you right now. Minnesota tops you guys in the state fair. If you guys did not get that reference, check out something that our state senator, or our U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar said about the fair. So number 18, Michigan State, another team in the Big Ten. You're going to hear it a lot here on this podcast. Michigan State against Arizona State. That's going to be a really great matchup. I want to see what happens with that, but I'll go with Michigan State, the Spartans, for my good friend Lee. Now, the University of Central Florida is going to face off against Stanford. I'm going to go with Stanford on this one, kick Central Florida to the curb a little bit, and then Boise State can move up and maybe get that power of, get that lower conference entry into there. Now, Texas A&M, they're going to be facing off against Lamar. They had a hard game last week, but this week they got Lamar at home. So that'll be an interesting game, folks. I want to see what happens with it, because Texas A&M, they need to win. They need to get back to prominence where they're at. Oregon faces off against Montana. I'm going to say Oregon's going to walk on this one. I mean, I think Montana is a championship series team anyway. So I think it's just going to be a walk. Wisconsin is number 14. They do not play this week. They play Michigan next week. It looks like it's at Camp Randall. So that'll be an interesting game. We'll talk about it next week. Penn State. Now, hey, that's another Big Ten team. The Penn State is 2-0 just off of beating Buffalo. They have a rivalry with the Pittsburgh Panthers. University of Pittsburgh. We'll see what happens with that, but I'm going to go Penn State. And I'm going to call it in a walk. I think Penn State's going to have a great team this year, and they're going to beat Pitt. Then you have number 12, Texas. The Undertaker is a fan of Texas, so I got to give it up to him. They're facing off against Rice. Again, folks, I'm not too keen on this match. I think Texas is going to win in a walk. They had a hell of a game last week, but Texas is going to win this. Utah against Idaho State. I've never heard of Idaho State, so Utah is going to win this one as well. Michigan is number 10. Like I said, they got at Wisconsin next week. Battle of the Big Ten supremacy. We'll talk about that next week. Florida and Kentucky. Interesting game here. Kentucky, it's Kentucky. The Wildcats. I talked about that in the last podcast. The Wildcats that I know are Kentucky. So I'm going to pick Florida on this. They're ranked number 9 in the nation. It's going to be... I can't even say it's going to be close, but I do want to see what happens with that. I think it'll be fun. Auburn, number 8. They're facing off against Kent State. Auburn wins in a walk. Number 7, Notre Dame also wins in a walk against New Mexico. Ohio State against Indiana. I don't think that's even looking like a competition at this point. Ohio State in a walk. It's going to just sound like that for a few weeks, folks. We're into games before we get into conferences, so it'll be interesting. Number 5 is actually going to be an interesting game. It's Oklahoma, the Sooners, against the Bruins of UCLA. As I've stated before in the podcast, I'm not a fan of the Pac-10. Only because I don't think that they bring a lot to the table. I think they could, but I don't think they do. So I'm going to go with Oklahoma in this one, but I think UCLA is going to bring a bigger fight than I think. LSU, after that big win last week over Texas A&M, I'm going to say that it's going to be LSU winning. They're number 4 in the nation. They got Northwestern State. So, again, in a walk. Georgia against Arkansas State in a walk. Alabama, they got 6 first-round first-place picks. They're 2-0 on the season. They're number 2 in the nation. They got South Carolina in a walk. And the last one, Clemson versus the mighty Orange of Syracuse. Clemson 56 first place votes, number 1 in the nation, defending national champions. And I think they're going to beat Syracuse in a walk. Now, it's going to be a very interesting season, folks, because right now, if we did just take the 2 wins and do nothing else, you would not be able to take the top 4 as it is. Rules state that you can only take 2 per conference. LSU would be out in this case, so Oklahoma would move up to that 4th place spot. But then if you play 1 and 4, it's Clemson and Oklahoma and Alabama and Georgia. I think there's a whole bunch of the season left, but I do have to say, even though there is bunches of the season left, you win one or you lose one, you might go home. You lose 2, you almost definitely go home, and you lose 3 and your season's over. You're gonna get put in the toilet bowl. You might get a bowl as long as you have a winning record, but not a good one. I'm not a fan of a 4-team playoff when you have so many teams. Just saying, for the record, I want to see more good college football and more teams being able to make it. Right now you can't, and it just sucks. So that has been the podcast here for the NCAA Top 25 show. We will do this again next week. I look forward to it. We will talk about Michigan and Wisconsin. They both will. I think they'll both move up in the polls if we get an upset. If we don't get an upset, they still might even move up in the polls because some teams just don't show up for these games. That's just how it works. So you guys have a great day here on thescottshow.com. I'm always excited to be here. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/scottshow. You can check us out also on thescottshow.com. We have our YouTube thing. I have my Facebook right there so you guys can see it and say hi. And most of all, just like, share, subscribe, talk about us to all your friends. And we'll see you guys here very soon on thescottshow.com.